In honor of November, the Retro Video Store presents Turkey Month, only the worst in cinema.
Welcome everyone to the Retro Video Store podcast. I'm your host Eric.
Hi, Eric.
And that's my co-host Neil.
I'm Neil, and who is back with us typing one-handed?
This is not my Godzilla.
I agree. You could say your name, you know.
Oh, Dave, I'm here.
That's David. David's back with us. This is like almost like a record. Is this like the third or fourth in a row?
I think it's 3 in a row. It's only because I'm on shoulder surgery and I'm at home. If I didn't have surgery, I would have found an excuse not to be on today.
On today, yeah. Will you be here next week for Showgirls?
Yes, I've already watched it twice.
You've already watched it. All right. Were you able to, use your other hand?
I'm getting ambidextrous real good.
Really, really good. All right. The Stranger.
Just do yoga and use your feet.
So, Turkey Month is marching on, and we are going to talk about a well-known movie fiasco. We're talking about Godzilla, the American version from 1998. And boy, does it suck.
Wow, way to bury the lead. People don't get to listen. People don't get to listen to us talk about it. You're just coming right out of the box with, "Oh, this movie sucked."
I think it's common knowledge, though. Pretty common knowledge. But yeah. But before we dive in to the pile of feces that is Godzilla 1998, let's do what we always do. But let's start with David. David, what did you watch this week?
This will be fast. I didn't watch anything this week. Just Godzilla.
Really?
Yeah,
so
I got it. Huh?
You have an injured arm. You're at home. You didn't watch anything?
No, I started. I really got into interrogation videos for some reason. So I went on this rampage of watching interrogation videos and tips and tricks on YouTube.
So you
Really?
planning on interrogating people anytime soon?
Where were you watching? Where were you watching those this week? Who was with you?
I'm playing Stone. You're not reading me on this one, Neil. I've watched too many videos. You can't break me. You're trying to provide a friendly atmosphere right now, so I'll relax, and you're both going to close in on me. No, I had a couple movies that I wanted to watch, but I don't know. I read some story. I watched the intervention, or not the interrogation, and then it kept going, and then I also teleworked, so I could try to stay busy during the day, so I didn't watch anything.
Wow. Did you watch football, though?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a given.
Yeah. Yep. Neil?
Well, I was sick this week. Marched for probably an hour and a half in the freezing cold rain playing bagpipes, and oddly enough, didn't feel good. So I watched a shit ton of movies. I was on a Japanese kick. I started studying Japanese again, and I watched The Seven Samurai, Yojimbo, Zatoichi versus Yojimbo, Throne of Blood, and Sword of Doom, Samurai Rebellion, and Harikiri.
Wow.
From 1960, the Harikiri from 1962. I'd never seen. Great movie. Really good. I
feel really kind of like, that's pretty highbrow. I watched a bunch of crap this week. It's like, can't match the highbrowness of watching foreign films and helping you to study a language. That's makes me feel bad.
Watashi wa mite eiga desu. Yes, I watched a lot of movies.
Neil and we both learned something this week. Like, we studied.
Yeah.
Eric, what about you?
Well, one day I watched Urban Cowboy. I came home.
I'm feeling really good about myself right now, Dave. How about you?
Urban Cowboy is a movie that I've seen dozens of times because my sister used to love that movie. And we had the soundtrack on vinyl and everything. And I hadn't seen it in probably a good decade or so. So I came home from work and it just happened to be just starting on Showtime right as I sat down on the couch. And instead of taking a nap like I normally do, like an old man every day, I sat and watched the entirety of Urban Cowboy and laughed at it. It could have been shot at the Top Deck in Farmington with the attitudes and things that go on in that movie. bunch of oil field workers and their love life and problems and stuff like that. So
Was Deborah Winger was in that?
yes.
Who was doing her sexy time mechanical bull ride?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
She was Sissy.
Sissy.
John Travolta was Bud, and Deborah Winger was Sissy. And yeah, I've seen that movie a bunch of times. It's a movie that just kind of sucks you in. You watch it and you're like, man, what are these people going through? And it's pretty interesting, and it's very nice capture of like early 80s when that cowboy trend was kind of going on. And so it kind of nice. It captures that that time period pretty well. It's entertaining. It's got some drama. I'll hate to say it. It's guilty pleasure. I watched that. I watched Captain America: Winter Soldier. It was on Stars the other day. I watched all of that. That was pretty good. We got to do that one eventually. And I've been thinking about the future of the podcast and trying to think about lining up the movies for next year and maybe doing some like different episodes, you know, some different format for a couple episodes during the year.
I would still like to do a watch party.
Yeah, we could do a watch party. We should figure that out. To do a watch party on Amazon or Netflix or something. We can figure that out and have our fans.
Won't take that much bandwidth. There's only us and the 4 other people.
4 other people, yeah. That'd be kind of fun to do. That'd be fun to do and just kind of, expand our horizons. Maybe, well, I had a Beastie Boys lyric, expanding our horizon, expanding our parameters.
Let's focus on the podcast, nerd. Let's go.
Sorry. I did a watch and read a lot about Godzilla from 1998. And
why?
Because I was interested in how bad it was and how it really is the example of what not to do when you're trying to do an Americanized version of something. Don't hire people that don't give a shit about the original property at all. Because Roland Emmerich and Dean Devlin did not give a shit about the original Godzilla at all. And they just thought it was dumb and did not treat it with any respect. And it's 100% obvious from actually watching the movie.
So this was actually kind of fun because my son has never seen any like Roland Emmerich movies. And as soon as as we're watching this, he comes in and he was like, this is ridiculous. He goes, why those helicopters can't turn like that? What's going on? Why are these guys so inept? Why is it just focus on people running away from explosions? Why don't they run laterally? Why do they always run like this? What are they doing? And I said, well, here, hold my beer. Let me show you another movie. And then we started watching, hey, Welcome to Earth. And he was watching these like, it's just ridiculous. It was, and when my 15-year-old can sit there and piece that together in his moody teen years, someone else should have at the corporate office should have said something to this man.
I know they need to have like a test screening of like moody teen boys and teen girls and have them write notes. Just like you said, that would be pure honesty to have your son and my son and, some other people just write what was bad about the movie.
It's just how the hell? Okay. Godzilla's stomping straight towards me. There's an empty alleyway to my right. There's an empty alleyway to my left. A large thoroughfare in front of Godzilla. You know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to run the direction he's walking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or just stand still when he's directly walking over me or getting close enough where I can smell his breath. All that kind of, it's terrible.
Well, you get to smell his breath a lot. He's just a playful puppy. He wants to come up and like nuzzle you and breathe on you and shit.
Yeah. It's just, all right, let's get started talking about this. Do you want to hit us with the Internet Movie Database tagline?
French nuclear tests irradiate an iguana into a giant monster that heads off to New York City. The American military must chase the monster across the city to stop it before it reproduces. Too late, boys.
Yeah. And directed by Roland Emmerich. And we'll talk about his filmography because Neil hit it directly on the head. He directs a certain type of movie. And he did a movie called The Noah's Ark Principle. And then he wind up doing Universal Soldier was the first thing that put him on the map. It was actually kind of fun.
Dude, yeah. I saw that at the Lobo.
Yeah.
In
Universal Soldier
Albuquerque.
not too bad. Stargate, also not terrible. 1994 Stargate. Hit it big with Independence Day, and Independence Day is fun, but it is stupid as hell. You can listen to our podcast on it when we talked about Independence Day.
Touchdown.
Then he did Godzilla in 1998, The Patriot with Mel Gibson, we have not seen.
Don't.
The Day After Tomorrow, which is a superstorm movie. 10,000 BC, not seen that one. 2012, have not seen that one.
Well, imagine that. More disasters, more people sitting there and staring at the shit that's going to kill them.
Did a movie called Anonymous about somebody who may have been Shakespeare. White House Down in 2013. I remember two movies came out at almost the exact same time. White House Down is what is the other one? Something Has Fallen. The president is.
Did they both have Gerard Butler?
One's with
Gerard.
One's with Channing Tatum. One's with Gerard Butler. One's got Jamie Foxx, and the other one is
Morgan Freeman.
Freeman.
Yeah.
Formulaic much. We're all riding on that Obama high. We got to get us a black president. But you know who's going to come in to save him? A white guy.
Yes. And it's just like, when there was Volcano came out at the same time as another, another earthquake volcano movie. There's like this, and then Armageddon.
And then a different asteroid movie, right? Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And did Independence Day Resurgence, which I've not seen. And he did Moonfall just recently, which is another disaster movie. So he loves him some disaster movies. And very formulaic. And this movie is about as late 90s as you could get. Because it's always got that, everybody's super quippy. You got to focus on a shitload of characters that you don't give a shit about. And go ahead, David.
Well, it made me think of that Roland Emmerich was before Michael Bay, maybe. Because there's a lot of similarities in their style. And I don't know if you guys thought about that. I thought about watching the movie that this could have easily been directed by Michael Bay. And then I just wondered who would win in a fist fight between Roland Emmerich and Michael Bay on a disaster set.
I will say that Michael Bay is probably a better director visually. His movies are both, are equally as dumb, but I think they look better than Roland Emmerich. There's that kind of glossy, everything's during the golden hour type look that Michael Bay movies have. So I would put Michael Bay over as a better director than Roland Emmerich. But this is written by Roland Emmerich and Dean Devlin. Budget of $150 million. Made $379 million at the box office, which seems like it was pretty good, but they forgot to account the $80 million in marketing that they put in for this movie. So the profit wasn't very big considering that everything they put in to hype the movie. It was released May 20th of 1998 and is 139 minutes long.
Yeah, this was a tough one to get through.
Yeah, I think, and I'll say right off the bat, the biggest crime to me of this movie is
just one.
There's a bunch. The biggest thing, and I'll say it off the top, being a lifelong Godzilla fan. Well, let's push this on the back burner first. Let's wait.
No, fucking, I want to hear this. Let's go.
You want to hear it? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that and I've heard this, I'm going to coin it, somebody else said this, but I'm just going to take the phrase, they took the god out of Godzilla. You know what I mean? He's just a big animal in this movie, a big scared lizard running around New York.
He was like a big giant lizard puppy. Like when you get a lab puppy and its paws are all big and the lab's really small, it just runs around smacking its tail into shit. That's what it reminded me of.
Yeah, before this version came out, Jan de Bont, the director of Speed, was in charge of the property before it, and Stan Winston did the creature effects. And I included a picture of Stan Winston's Godzilla design. It's a little different, but at least it's faithful to what Godzilla looks like. If you look at it, he looks like Godzilla. His face is a little duck-like a little bit to me. But
like he's got arms that he has arms he could do something with. I kind of like that.
Yeah.
Like from the neck down, that's a great Godzilla design.
Yeah. So, Stan Winston's fucking amazing. He's done so many great things. So it kind of sucks that the studios got scared and decided to take it away from, Yondabon left because they thought that was going to be too expensive. And if you read about the script that Emmerich and Devlin did, they just threw the old script out. This is a quote. I told Sony that I would do the film, but on my own terms, with Godzilla as a fast-moving animal out of nature rather than some kind of creature. Both of us thought, when they talk about the original one, we both have thought it was a dopey idea the first time we talked. When Chris came back to us, it's one of the producers, we still thought it was a dopey idea. So they don't respect the character at all. Yet they still gave them the ability to make this movie.
I really think that the one thing that got me through this movie, as I'm watching all 139 minutes of it, is that I know you hated it more than I did.
Yeah.
As I'm sitting there watching it, all I can think of is like, Eric's ass is clenched so tight right now. He is so furious. And it brought a little smile to me, because I knew when you and Dave were watching it and started throwing texts back and forth in the chain, and I just was like, yep, he's not liking this as much as me.
Well, there's another quote about the design. It says, Emmerich decided to completely reinvent Godzilla's design because he thought the original Toho design didn't make sense. And he also discarded the previous design approved by Yondabont, saying, I saw the creature they designed for TriStar's first attempt. Yondabont created Godzilla that was very close to the original, but it was not right. Today, we would not do it like that. So.
How wrong he was.
Exactly. And yeah, it just is fucking terrible. But let's go back a little bit and talk about, when did you first see this movie, Neil?
I went to go see it in theater.
Did we see it together?
Yes, we did.
Okay. Try to repress it, but I remember.
We went to go see it because we were both super stoked for this.
Yeah.
Because I was back. I came back into town for a little bit. And yeah, because it was like right before the wedding. So I was back in town for a bit, and then I had to go back because I was in California, and then I flew back in.
And this happened right before I moved to Albuquerque, because this is May and I moved to Albuquerque in September. So I was like in the middle of trying to get another job, trying to move, my life was busy. But I remember taking time specifically to see this because they did make the movie look like it was going to be good.
It had a great poster. The lobby poster for that with the big eye, that thing looked badass.
And even the original trailer that was, I think, before, I can't remember what movie it was in front of, but it was like these kids in a museum, and, they're looking at a T-Rex, skeleton in the museum, and then you hear the crash, and this gigantic foot smashes the T-Rex. And, it says Godzilla, and you're like, oh shit, that looks pretty cool. I was hyped for it. And then there was the other one where it was the fishing scene where the guy's running on the dock away from the splintering, dock, the wood on the dock. And then you see the two guys, and there you see the big eye, and they cut that part out of the movie, but it was still in the trailer, and that looked cool too. But yeah.
Poor, confused, innocent Godzilla. It's just a little lizard in a big city.
And this was before you really had access to any of the newer Godzilla movies. Like, you could still get the original Showa period Godzilla movies on video cassette, like Godzilla vs. King Kong and Megalon and Gigan, all the ones of the early man in suit Godzilla movies that stopped in 1975. And in 1984, there was Return of Godzilla. And then in 1988, there was Godzilla versus Biollante. 1991, there was Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla. So there was other Godzilla movies that were out, but you never got to see them because they weren't being released on cassette. So one of the only good things that came out of this is TriStar Pictures had the rights to release the Heisei period Godzilla movies out on cassette, so you were actually able to see those. So that was like, oh shit, these Godzilla movies are actually really good. And but I didn't even know that because this is before you had access to all that kind of stuff through the internet and streaming, and so this is what we got in 1998. David, when did you see it?
I saw it in the movie theater in 1998 when it came out. And yeah, it was same thing. I think midnight showing, watched it there, put the movie together, watched it at midnight, and walked out with the same feeling of like I did with Batman and Robin and that Mike Myers Resurrection or whatever, the shitty one we just watched.
Halloween Resurrection.
Yeah, Halloween, like it just made me hate my life. And it's a sad feeling at 2:00 in the morning when you walk out of a movie and you hate yourself and you just want to go home.
So this makes it seem like a lot of movies in the 90s were shitty, and they kind of were.
Well, that's what I was thinking about when you guys were just talking. I was thinking about kind of rolling through all these movies that I watched in the 90s. Like, that was a bad time.
Yeah, there were some good movies, hidden in there, but there were a lot of shitty ones. Of course, like, the indie film phenomenon came out in the 90s with, Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction and all the other kind of Tarantino light movies that came out afterwards, and Kevin Smith and so Clerks and Mallrats and all that kind of stuff. That was fun. There was a lot of indie movies that were fun, but mainstream horror wasn't great except for Scream, and then a lot of the other movies that were mainstream weren't that great either. Just like Forrest Gump beating Pulp Fiction for Best Picture.
Yeah, how did that happen? I'm still stumped by that. Or like Samuel Jackson losing to oh my god, what was that guy's name for the Oscar?
Mm-hmm. For Best Supporting Actor.
Yes.
Yeah, so it makes the 90s seem not very good. So let's talk about the cast. Matthew Broderick as Dr. Nick Tatopoulos, but nobody can get his name right. Isn't that hilarious?
We could just make that a fun running gag through the whole movie. This would be wonderful. And
we'll never get tired of it.
Never.
Because people apparently don't know anybody else who's Greek or has Greek lineage, and, just Papadopoulos and whatever the hell they say his name is. Just
Jean Reno. They didn't have him carrying like a gyro or like a moussaka around or something like that. Or like he gets up in the lab and knocks over some test tubes and goes, "Opa!" That would have been even better.
He just has a bag of feta cheese all the time. Just eating it. Jean Reno is Philippe Roche. I will give Jean Reno a pass in this movie. He at least looks like he's kind of having fun and is in on the joke or whatever. I'll give him a pass in this movie.
Poor man can't get a good cup of coffee.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and they're so French. They just make these people the Frenchiest Frenchies I've ever seen in my entire life. I'm surprised they just didn't have berets and those black and white striped shirts and mimes and everything.
It's like, what are you looking for? I don't know. He's trapped in an invisible box. We can't, he's being blown by a wind and trying to pull himself back with a rope.
Oh, no.
How did he save himself? He pulled himself up on the imaginary rope. Yeah. Maria Patillo is Audrey Timmons, an aspiring reporter and ex-love of Nick Tatopoulos. I've never seen her in anything else besides this movie before or after.
Her character
probably with good reason.
Her character was horrible.
Yeah.
Just
terrible person.
Just a terrible, terrible human in the movie.
Yeah, exactly.
And this guy is just so torn up just to get some. He's like, okay, you really just literally shit on me twice and ruined my life. But it looks like you might be a little bit like that, so I'm taking you back.
I'll take you back. It has a lot of Simpsons voice actors in this movie for some reason. Hank Azaria and Harry Shearer are both in this movie, and Nancy Cartwright makes a cameo. So wasted. I keep thinking of Kent Brockman whenever I saw Harry Shearer.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just terrible. Neil, I've been waiting for you to read the critical consensus.
Oh,
it's very
these are
lengthy.
great.
I've been using this very astringent beverage here to help limber up my throat. See if I could do that. Take another sip of that, which is delicious, by the way. Godzilla received generally negative reviews from critics, which no one was shocked by. Rotten Tomatoes, they had an average approval rating of 20% based on 150 reviews with an average rating of 4.5 of 10. Its critical consensus states, without compelling characters or heart, Godzilla stomps on everything that made the original or any monster movie worth its salt a classic. Metacritic and its weighted scores on that, Godzilla gets a score of 32 out of 100 based on 23 critics, indicating generally unfavorable reviews. Audiences surveyed by CinemaScore gave the film a grade of B- because these people were happy that they would get any grade over a D because they were fucking morons in school. Criticism highlighted by film critics included the film's script, acting, and directing. Basically everything about it. I love this. While fans targeted the film's reinvention of Godzilla, which included its redesign and departure from the source material. Roger Ebert from the Chicago Sun-Times gave the film 1.5 stars out of 4, noting that one must be carefully repress intelligent thought while watching such a film. The movie makes no sense at all, except as a careless pastiche of its betters. And yes, the Japanese Godzilla movies are, in their own way, better, if only because they embrace Drek instead of condescending to it. You have to absorb such a film, not consider it, but my brain rebelled and insisted on applying logic where it was not welcome. Ebert also pointed out in his review that the characters, Mayor Ebert and his assistant Gene, were Devlin and Emmerich's jabs at his and Gene Siskel's negative reviews of Stargate and Independence Day. Gene Siskel particularly singled out this aspect, writing, "Why place us in the movie if you aren't going to have us be eaten or squashed by the monster?" Siskel placed the film on his list of the worst films of 1998. James Bernadelle, hard to pronounce name, Real Views called the film one of the most idiotic blockbuster films of all time. It's like spitting into the wind. Emmerich and Devlin are master illusionists waving their wands and mesmerizing audiences with their smoke and mirrors. It's probably too much to hope that someday moviegoers will wake up and realize that they've been had. Stephen Holden of the New York Times wrote that the film is so clumsily structured it feels as if it's two different movies stuck together with an absurd stomping finale glued onto the end. The only question worth asking about this $120 million wad of popcorn is a commercial one. How much further will the dumbing down of the event movie have to go before the audience stops buying tickets? Holy crap. You know what would have made this movie better if it would have had like a cleanup montage? Like tried to get the army headquarters ready and they had like a little catchy song. That would have made this movie better. Michael O'Sullivan of the Washington Post queried, the question is this: are the awe-inspiring creature effects and roaring battle scenes impressive enough to make you forget the stupid story, inaccurate science, and basic implausibility? Thoughtfully disillusioned, he wrote, the cut-rate cast seems to have been plucked from the pages of TV Guide. There's Doug Savant from Melrose Place as O'Neill, a scaredy-cat military man who looks like Sergeant Rock and acts like,
Barney Fife.
Cut off. I've got a header. I can't read. There it is. Sorry, I had to take it off. Looks like Sergeant Rock and acts like Barney Fife. There's Maria Patillo from House Rules as Nick's sophomoric love interest, Audrey, The Simpsons' Hank Azaria, and Harry Shearer as a wisecracking news cameraman and superficial reporter. Vicki Lewis of News Radio as a lusty scientist. Shall I continue?
Oh, I couldn't figure out where she was from. I didn't realize that she was from News Radio. Like, where the hell has she been? I knew she was in some TV show, but I couldn't place it.
Yeah, nobody really famous else came out of that TV show. Everyone in that just kind of faded to obscurity. Yeah. Owen Gleiberman, writing for Entertainment Weekly, thought there's no resonance to the new Godzilla and no built-in cheese value either. For a while, the filmmakers honor the sentimental paradox that seeped into the later Godzilla films, that this primitive destroyer like King Kong doesn't actually mean any harm. He opined that the film contained some clever and exciting sequences, but ultimately came to the conclusion that, It says much about today's blockbuster filmmakers that they could spend so much money on Godzilla and still fail to do justice to something that was fairy tale destructo schlock to begin with. Rob Fried, who helped acquire the rights for TriStar, was angered how the studio handled the property, stating, "The Sony executive team, we just say this, Sony fucks up material.
Oh yeah, they do.
Sony's just horrible at it. They're really, really shitty at it." My wife was like, "Oh my God, look, Venom 2 is on and it's only like $2 to rent." Because it's an ass. It's just it's just watching a butthole pucker on screen. There's no reason to see that. The Sony executive team that took over Godzilla was one of the worst cases of executive incompetence I've observed in my 20-year career. One of the golden assets of our time, which was hand-delivered to them, was managed as poorly and ineptly as anybody can manage an asset. They took a jewel and turned it into dust.
It's true. And then you made a good point, Neil, about Sony and movie studios in general. Once they have a property, they'll do anything to hang on to that property and screw it up royally. It's just like Sony has all the rights to these Spider-Man villains, and they keep making fucking movies based on Spider-Man villains that nobody gives a shit about. I don't want to see Morbius. I don't want to see Kraven the Hunter or Madam Web. It just...
I tried to watch Madam Web, and there was only really two reasons to watch it, and both were of Sydney Sweeney's.
Exactly. She could even save that movie. But yeah, look at all the stuff they've ruined. Did you watch Madam Web, David?
Yes. And I'm ashamed to admit that I watched it and I wasn't on pain pills or anything. I sat down and watched it clear-minded.
Mm-hmm.
I'm feeling like I can talk a little better after I muted the mic and had a coughing fit. That's nice. I like this. In 2018, Azari expressed his disappointment with working on Godzilla, citing its failure to boost his career profile as intended, and noted that he fell sick several times while shooting in rainy exteriors for 5 months. Shit, I just walked around for a couple hours in the rain. He went on to declare that Godzilla became the poster child for everything wrong with Hollywood in terms of budget and marketing, adding that the advertisements looked better than the film, which we already talked about, they did.
Yeah, and just remember the Taco Bell tie-ins where the stupid Taco Bell chihuahuas on Godzilla's tail, and they just all the posters that were hyping it up, like his foot is this big and blah blah blah, and all that kind of stuff, and it just the hype. The movie couldn't deliver on the hype, and I remember watching this, and when it was over, feeling just kind of almost like depressed. I was like, I can't believe I felt like The Godfather. Look what they did to my boy, man. No, look at how they massacred my boy. I was just
like, we should hand this over to Eric. I want you with all your considerable skill.
Take care of this. Yeah, it was just, I just couldn't believe it. And I never thought we'd ever see Godzilla done well again. And luckily things have turned around and we're in the middle of this huge Godzilla renaissance where he's pretty much everywhere. There's new, with the MonsterVerse done by the American versions, which I don't really care for. They're okay. They're kind of fun, dumb movies, but Toho is putting out some of the best Godzilla movies they've ever put out, with Shin Godzilla and Godzilla -1. So it's great that things turned around for the property, because it was fucking bleak after this one.
I think that the design for their Godzilla was it was poorly managed.
Mm-hmm.
I liked the idea that he could get around on all fours and haul ass if needed to be, and crawl and tunnel. They could have really exploited that and made that really cool. And then be so fast on two legs, and he could have been so predatory. Instead, it turned into, oh no, here's Matthew Broderick and Godzilla wants to sniff him, and it's a boy and his dragon, and he's going to touch his nose, and they're going to understand each other. And all of a sudden, the bad government people start shooting the owie sticks at it, and it has to run away and defend itself. It just should have turned its head sideways and just eaten his ass right then and there. But
Mhm.
there's so many cool things they could have done, with like a sleeker Godzilla, because Godzilla is, let's say it, is the Kim Kardashian of the kaiju world. Godzilla's got a fat ass.
Yes, got some heavy
So
legs on Godzilla.
got some heavy legs on Godzilla. Okay. But they could have been really cool with just a sleeked up Godzilla, one that was just fast and could move, could tunnel under the ground.
Thick thighs save lives, though, Neil.
Well, I'm not going to argue with that. I'm 100% not going to argue with that. I feel like I'm in church. Like I just hold my hands up and start praising. Praise. Amen, brothers and sisters. Hallelujah. Preach, Brother Eric. Tell us about the thighs, how they're going to save us.
Well, going back to it, I agree with you. They could have done something that was original, but also Godzilla doesn't run away. That's just not the nature of the character. He walks
away after he's fucked shit up.
Exactly. He tears the army. He's swatting planes out of the air. He's whipping tanks with his tail. He's burning up, whole battalions with his atomic breath. He's fucking shit up. He's not running away.
He just goes away after he's tired. He's like, I'm tired.
Exactly.
Tired. Yeah. I'm going to go sleep in the ocean for a little bit. I'll be back, bitch. I'm not done cleaning the house.
And there's no mythic quality. And that's what, the original Godzilla, 1954, he was a metaphor for the atomic bomb and the price that, the Japanese people paid for being bombed twice. He was a living metaphor for anti-nuclear, testing. And it was a tragic movie with tragic, tragic theme where the Dr. Serizawa uses the oxygen destroyer to kill Godzilla, but also dies in the same in the process. Gradually, over time, he became a hero, and there's some of those cheesy, fun-loving Godzilla movies that I love to death. I love Godzilla versus Gigan and Godzilla versus, the son of Godzilla, or, when calling Monster Island, all that kind of stuff. I love that cheesiness, but Mothra! But there was no question who the toughest monster was. Godzilla. He was
Shaft.
Kicking ass.
Oh, shit.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. He was the Shaft of the kaiju world. And they just lose all of that. There's no, you don't fear Godzilla at all in the movie. And the stupid, inept army causes more problems than Godzilla does. I guess I don't know if they're trying to make a point that way or it's just funny. Just like the guy's last name. Isn't that funny? The last name? Oh my God. Couldn't get enough of it.
Chuck Norris had Godzilla as a pet.
Thanks. So let's talk about the plot a little bit, even though we're 38 minutes into the podcast.
Chuck Norris can kill Godzilla by saying roar.
You want drums?
No, but I'm doing my best.
So there are a few things I will say that the movie does well. The first part, it ends, but the first part, like, every Godzilla movie starts with like a nuclear test, whatever, and there's a boat that gets attacked by Godzilla and you barely see it. That part was done pretty well, especially with the Aoyang sighting at the beginning of the movie.
It's only in Hollywood can you have a Japanese fishing trawler with a lot of Chinese dudes on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I think at least that looked cool with the giant tail and the claws ripping through the boat and stuff like that. That part was done well. And some of the parts where you don't see him are done well. And it's until you actually see the full design and what they did with it that you feel like, holy shit, this is so wrong-headed. But another big ass problem is that they try to freaking wedge in a romantic comedy in a goddamn Godzilla movie.
Yeah, that was the other thing I wanted to talk about. So thank you for that.
Yeah. Why? It's just
Matthew Broderick's character was just such a dumbass. Like, took off, didn't say a word. She sees his fucking magic box of science instruments and sees that he's still hooked on her. uses that shit to get her story, shits on him a second time, epically, gets him kicked off of anywhere where he could have helped. And if not for a couple of weird ass French guys smoking and trying to find a decent cup of coffee, does he help save the world?
Yeah. But really, does he? You know, the only thing he figures out is that there's going to be more baby Godzillas because it's asexually reproducing. And I think that the Roland Emmerich was more interested in ripping off Jurassic Park for a third of the movie than he was making a goddamn Godzilla movie, you know?
Didn't Jurassic Park come out like 4 or 5 years later?
No, it came out in 93.
Oh, Jurassic Park was in 93. Oh,
Yeah.
This was 98. Duh. Okay. Yeah. And I don't know why I wasn't thinking that, because we'd actually even texted about this, but like the raptor scene where the raptors are chasing them, and then you've got these guys, and they just look like giant waterhead baby raptors.
Yeah.
Like if Arkansas could produce raptors, that's what they look like.
It looks so terrible. I mean, there are practical effects, which I kind of appreciate that somebody made, you know, molds and designs and stuff like that, but they look bad. And they're supposed to be, you know, they're supposed to eat fish, but they think they want to eat the people because they smell like fish. So that was a stupid excuse for them to be.
Well, I mean,
killers.
come on, honestly, with all three of us here, come on, at some point we've all, because, you know what I'm saying? Come on. David, I can tell from that look on your face. You're with me, my man. Fist bump right there. Boom.
So they have a huge cast full of people you do not give a shit about. You don't care about the reporter and his wife who, you know, who's annoying.
She serves no purpose to the story. Like, she literally serves no fucking purpose to this goddamn movie.
Can we talk about how all the Godzillas look like they had a massive underbite?
Yeah, they did. They do kind of, yeah.
I just wanted one of those Godzillas to come up and ask Matthew Broderick, "You got biscuits and mustard?" This lawnmower ain't got no gas in it. That's why Godzilla's upset.
I like the way you talk. So the guy who created the Godzilla design was named Patrick Totopoulos. So they used his last name for the main character, right? Remember how funny that was?
Did you say it right? Did you say it right?
I'm getting freaking flashbacks of my dad listening to Rush Limbaugh every time you pound the table and I hear the mic do that. Like, holy shit, man. Calm down.
Yeah. There were good practical effects when they took the fishing boats underwater. Those were done practical on a gigantic set. So that looks pretty cool. Some of the cityscapes were all miniatures that were really detailed miniatures that you couldn't really even tell. They did a really good job of that with green screen. And some of the stuff was well done, you know, like the effects and stuff, but everything else around it sucked. Can you imagine like spending your time being an artisan, handcrafting all these sets and doing all this kind of stuff, you know, making it look as good as you can. And then you see it in a movie that just is a big piece of shit.
So he did. I'm looking up this guy because he fucking annoyed me with his Godzilla. So he was a production designer for Justice League, Batman, Superman, iRobot, Independence Day. Mm-hmm. No big shock there. So he did special effects for A Day Like a Week. He was the creature designer supervisor. I've never seen that before.
Yeah, I've not seen that one.
Last Voyage of the Demeter, which wasn't too bad.
Yeah, that's good.
Blood Creek, Solomon Kane. Creature designed and supervised on Underworld, Rise of the Lycans, which, not too bad. Trick or Treat. I Am Legend. So it looks like he did all of the Underworld movies.
Yeah.
Which would explain why his werewolves look like Godzilla.
Well, I guess he's only doing what Roland Emmerich told him to do. You know, make him fast, sleek, bipedal, Godzilla. So I think maybe he's got talent, but he just was doing what the director and producer asked him to do, and made a gigantic iguana.
He should also look like he's been locked up in a home for a while. And when he comes out, he's just trying to figure out how to navigate his way around and looking for some biscuits and mustard.
Yeah, the whole Mayor Ebert thing was stupid as hell. Like you said, why doesn't anybody run away in a different direction instead of just running straight? It drove me freaking nuts. There's tons of ads for things that don't exist anymore that are kind of funny. I mean, Swatch still exists, but not to the level that it did in the 90s, 80s, and 90s. But there's Blockbuster Video banners all over the place. In Josta soda, remember Josta? Josta soda. Oh, really?
Not at all.
It was like this red soda, and it had guarana. That was that was the big thing about it. Soft drink brand that was produced by PepsiCo, the first energy drink ever introduced by a major U.S. beverage company. Just look it up and you'll remember it. The Legend of Guarana is on it. It's got a Black Panther on it.
The only one that matters to me is Steven Seagal's lightning bolt.
Makes you want to sing, songs in a Rastafarian accent.
Me wonder punani. Whatever the hell that is.
David, have you heard? You got to look that up. Steven Seagal singing
video. I'm not going to.
Oh no, dude! You need to. He does it full on in like a Jamaican accent.
Yeah, he sings like he's freaking Shaggy or something like that.
I saw the picture you guys shared. I was scrolling, looking for a past thing you guys made me laugh about, and I scrolled by the pictures of him sitting in the chair. That was enough.
That was so much. That was so much fun, though. The Gravy Seals, Meal Team 6.
Yeah.
We still need to do one of his movies. We haven't done one yet. We got to do that.
See, but it's really hard to do one of his movies because I'm a fan of the martial arts.
Yeah. So everything is dumb in the movie. You think that Godzilla gets killed, and of course he's not. The stupid submarines that are in the harbor, in New York Harbor, which is apparently way too small to have a full-size submarines moving around super fast
He full on dives into the water, and it's deep enough for him to just dive straight into. Like the continental shelf, it's literally just right at the end of that pier.
Yeah, it's so dumb. No logic at all in these movies. So the eggs hatch inside Madison Square Garden, and it totally rips off Jurassic Park with the Velociraptors, and part just sucks. And they happen just to blow up Madison Square Garden, and then Godzilla, not dead, smells the corpse of one of the little baby Godzillas. And then there's the most boring chase scene.
I'm coughing my guts up too, so don't worry about it. You pick up, I'll cough. Dave, if you could fart just to round out the bodily noises, that'd be appreciated.
I'll be editing those out. That taxi cab chase scene lasted forever.
It drug on for sure.
Yeah, and it was totally unsuspenseful. You didn't give a shit about it in any way. It sucked.
I think I don't remember exactly the context, but around that time was like the best. I think it was towards the end was like the best like dialogue, like most believable when that woman is watching and she calls her husband a retard.
Yeah, she said that twice, right? Didn't she?
Yeah.
And then the military guy said it to another, was one of his guys, go get that, you retard.
You can't really say that anymore, but
I know you just can't just throw that around.
You can't just throw that around, but kind of accurate in some cases. And not as a derogative, and I don't have to go all South Park on it. It doesn't mean Down syndrome when you say that. That's not what that means. No.
So the movie just ends once they kill Godzilla, which you should not be able to kill Godzilla when he gets stuck in the suspension bridge.
They're going, okay, that's the part all right. That was a part that I thought was complete and utter bullshit. Remember when we were kids and we watched King Kong and he lets go of Jessica Lange and he's laying there dying and all you hear is his heart like
yeah. Yes, they ripped that part off.
Rip that part off, and they're just trying to you are trying to fuck with little tiny me from back in the 70s, you piece of shit.
Yeah. Because that made you feel sad when you cared about the monkey, when you cared about King Kong, when he fell off, and then you hear his heart stop.
And he's making
Yeah.
all this like sad dying noise.
Yeah, and when that
It's like,
happened
oh.
in a good movie, you felt sad, but they just totally ripped it off in this one. And of course, at the end, you get another egg hatching, and then screaming, and
there could be another one.
there's gonna be a sequel, but there was
Well,
not.
Thank God,
God.
like Mac and me, that shit didn't come through.
Yeah.
Yes, thankfully they did not. They actually had planned 2 different movies. One was supposed to be on a Monster Island type thing, so there's supposed to be a trilogy of movies, but it did not happen. And I guess a lot of the ideas that they had for the sequels were in the animated series that was on Fox for a little bit, which I've never seen any episodes of, but I hear are actually better than than this movie.
You remember the one from the 80s where they had the little remote and they could summon Godzilla?
Yeah,
And he
Godzilla
would
and
just show up.
Godzuki.
Yep, Godzuki.
Yes, which is awful.
He would make all those weird ass noises.
Yeah, and Godzilla did not look like Godzilla.
Nope.
And Godzilla and Godzuki. It's fucking terrible.
Did he have like little tiny ass wings which try to like flap around?
Yeah, Godzuki did have little tiny wings.
Yeah.
Goddamn. I would rather watch the Herculoids than Godzilla Power Hour.
Okay. Herculoids is good.
Yeah, Herculoids is good.
Herculoids is good.
Yeah. That was good.
That was quality. Thundar the Barbarian? Hell yeah.
Yes, hell yeah. With Ukla the Mock, which was with the Chewbacca stand-in.
Princess
That time.
Ariel, Ukla the Muck,
And his
and
sun
Thundar
sword.
the Barbarian.
If you have not seen this movie, don't watch it. Watch a better Godzilla movie. There's so many more better Godzilla movies out there. And I included my top 10 Godzilla movies. And if you would like to hear them, I will talk about them. Number 1.
Oh wait,
Even
I
though it just-
love that you didn't. I love you didn't wait for an answer. If you'd like to hear about them,
I was going to power on anyway. Even if you both said, no, we don't. I think we've heard enough. I'm like, whatever. Fuck you. I'm keeping going. Number 1, Godzilla -1. Fucking amazing. So good. Really, really captured what Godzilla is supposed to be like. Next to the original, it is just, it makes you understand the cultural iconography of Godzilla and what it means, and the power of the story. The human story is even amazing.
That movie was so good, my wife walked out of the theater and was like, I really like that movie. And even commenting on the fact that the story of the people was as compelling as what was going on with Godzilla.
Yeah. Amazing. And it deserves to be the number 1, even though some people argue that the original should be number 1. The original it's good, but is very slow by today's standards. You have to be in the right mindset to watch it. And it's very somber. And it's a little it's a tough watch, but it's one of those that's essential to see. If you want to watch a lighter version of it, then watch Godzilla King of the Monsters, the Americanized version, where Raymond Burr is added in, and he's just a reporter who's just reporting on all the stuff that happened in the Japanese movie. And it's really weird. My second favorite one is Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla from 1974. This is probably the Godzilla movie I've seen more than any other Godzilla movie. And it's got my homeboy King Caesar as Godzilla's tag team partner. I've included a picture of King Caesar at the bottom.
Your New Mexico comes out when you say that so hard.
My homeboy King Caesar.
That's King Caesar.
King Caesar, bro. He's down,
King
man. He's
Caesar.
a good essay. He looks like a dog. He's got red eyes. He's fucking badass, eh?
Is he best friends with Godzilla or what?
Well, yeah, are you going to help
Yeah,
Godzilla
thank
or
you.
what?
Are you going to fight? Are you going to fight or no?
This girl's got to sing his song in order for him to come out of the mountain. It's crazy. So, Shin Godzilla is the third favorite Godzilla movie I've ever seen. It is awesome. Godzilla is scary as hell. The design is unique. Looks like no other Godzilla from the other series. It's just cool as hell.
I still want to see that one. I still haven't found it. Still haven't found it streaming.
I think you can rent it on Amazon. I'm pretty sure.
Okay, well, if it's rentable, then I'm renting it.
Yeah, but
It's
it is
good.
such a good commentary on the bureaucracy after the Fukushima power plant disaster, and it's just really, really, really good. It's all about of course Godzilla is the main problem, but it's also about bureaucracy and all the problems with bureaucracy. It's really, really good. Godzilla versus Megalon. It's another one of my ones I saw. Is may not be the favorite critically, but it's got Jet Jaguar, Godzilla's robot homie. And that's I love that one because I saw it a bunch as a kid.
Oh, God, I forgot
Streaming
about
right
Jet
now, Jet Jaguar. Jet Jaguar.
He didn't go Jet Jaguar.
Right now on HBO Max or on Max, they have 3 Godzilla movies that were very hard to find. They've got Return of the Godzilla, which is Godzilla 1984 in the United States. It's got Godzilla versus Biollante, which is a really, really amazing sequel to the Return of the Godzilla. And then they have Godzilla versus King Ghidorah. Godzilla versus King Ghidorah is awesome because they totally rip off the Terminator in it, where like there's this sort of time travel thing where these people, the Futurians, come to Japan and say that Godzilla is going to destroy the Earth unless you go back in time and get rid of him after the original, nuclear accident that causes him to mutate and become a gigantic monster. So, but it's actually the evil Americans who came back from the future to rule over Japan, and they make these little flying monsters into a gigantic King Ghidorah. So they have to go back and back again in time, but use a nuclear submarine instead of just a regular nuclear explosion. And Godzilla is like way taller and more evil, and it's just fucking awesome. So Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah, it's on Max. Check it out. You want to see some cheesy robot effects of a guy running, like pretending to be the Terminator. It's really, really fun. And Godzilla looks great in it. Godzilla versus Destroya. We've talked about that in the podcast. It's awesome. Godzilla versus Biollante. Really, really good. GMK, Giant Monsters All Out Attack. We've talked about that on the podcast. And Godzilla Final Wars. And in Godzilla Final Wars, Godzilla, the Japanese Godzilla, fights the American Godzilla and beats him in one hit in Australia. And they don't call him Godzilla, just call him Zilla. Or the fans call him Gino. Gino. Godzilla in name only. So that's the super nerdy Godzilla lore. But it's worth watching. Godzilla Final Wars.
This is the nerdy Godzilla. Oh, wow, this is the nerdy Godzilla war. Okay, thank you. I was wondering, like, how can I quantify the information that Eric's giving me right now?
You saw that meme I sent you before we started recording.
Oh, I saw exactly what you sent me. I don't know if you've noticed, but I have leaned the fuck back, and I'm in a reclined position, and just like Eric's going to roll on through with this. We're just let him get it out of his system.
The meme that I sent them is it's a picture of Godzilla. It says, "Warning: do not mention Godzilla or any Godzilla-related subject matter around this individual. Doing so may result in lengthy, mind-numbing conversations involving the history, origins, and details of Godzilla and the Godzilla movie franchise. Thank you for your cooperation." So, yeah.
Yeah, no, you go full autistic when it comes to Godzilla. You don't pay attention to any. You don't pay attention to any social cues. No facial expressions from anyone around you. You just go until you've exhausted the Godzilla fact.
You just want to
that
talk about dinosaurs?
When you come back to my house, I can show you my Godzilla collection too.
I included my favorite Godzilla suit designs as well. Look up Godzilla versus Biollante. He's got a cool, mean-looking face. Godzilla versus King Ghidorah. He's kind of got a cat-like grimace on his face. Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla. That's the Godzilla of my youth. I remember, just kicking ass. Godzilla Final Wars is a little more unusual looking, still a little bit more cat-like. Then I included a picture of my homeboy, King Caesar.
King Caesar.
Down with King Caesar, essay.
Down with King Caesar, essay. Well, now that we are 59 minutes, when we're going to probably a little bit less because you're going to edit out all my coughing. I want to just, and I'd made a note that we made it all the way through this whole thing, and you did not mention once the lack of Godzilla screams and the fact that there was no nuclear fire breath.
I noted them, but I just kind of glossed it over because I was too pissed off to bring it up. That would just anger up my blood even more to talk about the awful Godzilla roar that sort of sounded like it, and they only did it like twice. And then their poor excuse for fire breath, which was just
Because things were blowing up.
yeah.
They just blew the fire at them. That was more like Godzilla came around the corner and went, "Hey,
What's up? Yeah. If you have not seen Godzilla 1998, it is not to what is that thing about discarded?
This is not a movie to be set aside lightly. This is a movie to be thrown with great force."
Yes, exactly. 100%.
And this is Turkey Month. I also have to say and give you credit for this is my wife was like, "Hey, what's the next movie?" I said, "Oh, it's Godzilla 1998." She goes, "Well, how many more movies do you have?" "Only one more after this." "So what's the last movie?" "Striptease." And my wife just looks at me and she goes, "Titties." I'm like, "Yeah, it's exactly the reason why Eric
we're not doing
picked it."
striptease, we're doing showgirls.
Oh, sure. Same
Showgirl.
thing.
Same thing. They came out at the exact same time.
Same thing. One just doesn't have Burt Reynolds in it, and one has more titties.
Yeah. Burt Reynolds walking around with boots filled with Vaseline or whatever he was doing in that movie.
Yeah. And though at that point in that movie, they're not breasts. They cease to become breasts, and they evolve into titties. And that's all it is. You're just waiting to see another. Oh, look, there's another one. And that's when you begin to realize the snowflake-like quality of breasts.
Mm-hmm. They're all each
no two are alike.
Yes.
And you want to grab a handful.
Do angels in it?
Dave's giving us his one-handed technique with his arm in a sling.
Yeah, so next week is Showgirls, probably the apex of crappy movies. But it's extremely entertaining and dumb as hell. And if you have not seen it, you will never forget it. Showgirls, next week. I thought about a little bit about December. I thought about maybe doing Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers, and then The Shining because we missed it the last time, and then Christmas Vacation, maybe.
Christmas Vacation is badass.
Yeah. Then we'll take a little break. But yeah, those I think are coming up that we should do. If you have any suggestions, you can hit us up on our socials. I just added a Blue Sky account, which is apparently the new Twitter alternative that millions of people are signing up. So check us out on Blue Sky. Check us out on Instagram. Send us an email on rvspodcast222@gmail.com. We're also on the Facebook and sort of on Threads. I haven't checked Threads in a while.
We're on Threads. It's weird.
Yeah.
Threads is very strange.
I think Blue Sky is way more like Twitter. So
Blue Sky is the social media of extreme coincidence because I was like, oh, this Blue Sky thing. So I downloaded it and I'm literally putting in like, all right, my name. I'm typing in RVS podcast 222@gmail. And I was getting ready to text you. And then boom, you text me like, hey man, I just signed us up on Blue Sky.
Yeah. It was a super coincidence.
That was a super coincidence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but check us out on Blue Sky. You can go to buymeacoffee.com if you want to buy us a cup of coffee. And we appreciate everybody who's listened this month. We've actually had some really good downloads. Surprising for Turkey Month. Because usually we hit rock bottom during Turkey Month. It's like a thumb in the nose. We're just like, let's do some shitty movies. Even shittier than normal. I will still say that The Beyond, that was a resounding exclamation from the audience that they did not want to download that episode. Yeah, it's pretty sad.
Eric, will you do me a favor? And after next week's, towards the end of next week's episode, your list has to be in order of Turkey Month that we've done so far. Remember, I asked you to give me your top.
Oh yeah, yes, I got to do that. Yeah. I'll look through our Turkey Months and give us do the ranking.
So that way we know which you think is of what we've covered is the worst movie we've ever covered.
Mm-hmm. I was kind of thinking about Mac and Me about how damn awful that movie was this week.
Give it some time. Give it time.
I threw a little extra picture in there to get you ready for Showgirls.
Okay, I'm looking.
I kind of. You want to go to Arby's?
I put it right above King Caesar. King Caesar.
We have the meats.
Jesus Christ. All right.
All right. On that note,
not safe for work. Everybody have a good week.
Goodbye, everybody.
Talk to you later.
Thank you for listening to the Retro Video Store Podcast.